superhuman. And I know that the answers are inside. Yeah, I am a 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. Come on everyone, let's celebrate. We are the children of the sun. I can see you when I look into your eyes. We are the same, and we are light, and we are one. Here now, hear my ancient prayer and sing along. We are awakening as one. And we can make a difference. Yeah, we can be the change it takes to make the world.
Hi, I'm Cary Ellis, author of 21st Century Superhuman, and this is our 21st Century Superhuman show. Today I have with me my beautiful sister Delia from California.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I feel so blessed and grateful to be here and
Yes,
have some lovely chat time with you. And
yes, it's so great to have you here. And let's just share. We actually met last summer. We were both each at caretaking positions in the Yucatan, actually way southern below the Yucatan, down in Ixcalac, Mexico, on that Yucatan coast where the ocean was just like supernaturally beautiful. And you actually were there with a household of 3 or 4 people, right? And,
I was the only American out of 3. There was 3 Australians.
Right.
It was so awesome. It was so wonderful. So it was a really cool experience to be in Mexico with 3 Australians and you down the street. I mean, like, so exciting.
I know.
Such a beautiful connection.
It was so much fun, and it was so cool because I actually got the caretaking position first through a friend of mine, and then I ended up calling up one of your friends and saying, hey, one of the caretakers left. You want to come down? And he ended up talking to the owners, and the owner said, sure, bring your friends. We're not going to rent out any rooms this summer. And so we had such a neat, fun community, and I think this is an example. And we were just talking as we got on tonight about how special that time was in our lives and how enriching it was. And I know every time I do something like that, or go on an adventure, or open up the doors to meet a bunch of new people and get close to them, that it expands my tribe. It expands my world. Like, I now know Delia, and I know the others who were in that household, and I feel like they're good friends and compadres on the path.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the ability to get real when living in community, things come up. And, I know that this talk is about discovering our beauty and discovering the beauty in discovering ourselves. And when you live with people, and most of these people that I was living with were completely, like, pretty much all brand new in my experience. And it's so neat to be able to get really vulnerable and open and see the transformation that comes from that type of intimacy and mutual respect and love for community and connection. And also our learning more about ourselves, because as we learn more about ourselves, and we have a very dynamic experience.
And I think all of us, this group of people and others that we know, are kind of in this, we're in this time on planet Earth where I think we're saying we don't necessarily want to live the old routine. We want to begin expressing more of who we truly are, finding the path that we can live where we can support ourselves the way we need to, but still be in the joy of our own being, expressing our own talents. And I think both men and women, I think there's a lot of people waking up and saying, I don't want to just be a little rat on the wheel. I don't want to get in my car in the morning and just drive off to something in clothes I don't even like to wear to do some job all day. And then it's like, what happens to this huge bank account of human creativity, that instead that is just getting put into a routine instead of getting brought forward and allowing us to live and work at things that we can really put creativity into and love and enjoy what we're doing. And I think you and I ended up having a lot of deep conversations about this kind of thing down there. So it's a great conversation for us to continue here.
Yeah. Man, I agree. I've lived this way of actually my parents have always been really, really supportive of me in my life and living alternatively. But one of the main things that I've gotten from this experience is that living a multidimensional lifestyle is not easy. Like anything that you do, you put energy into and you receive energy from it, or not in some aspects, or maybe not right at the beginning, and then you have to put in all this energy to birth something. And it's really important to recognize that there is a shadow side to every light aspect of creation. And it's really beautiful when you make your routine self-love and honoring this place of expression that sorry, like lost my train of thought.
You know what?
All of a sudden. Isn't that so funny how that happens?
I get it. No, because I really like what you said though, because when you choose to live a multidimensional lifestyle, and I'll tell you what, that's just really well said, because we're choosing to live lifestyles that express more of who we are. Sorry, I've got this breeze coming and the sun moving, so moving on my face.
Really beautiful. It's actually really beautiful.
Oh, bands of light. But that term, a multidimensional lifestyle, how do we live a multidimensional lifestyle? And what does that mean? Because we are literally multidimensional beings. And I write about this in my book, 21st Century Superhuman. So we go from being just a 3D character where we have a certain role that we act out to we become a being who's creating, and who's creating from the source energy that flows through us. And how do we integrate all of that, and we can call that our multidimensional self. And as you said, it isn't necessarily always easy. I mean, that can be a challenge. And I think it's a challenge that a lot of us live with these days and kind of delve into and are seeking the answers to.
Absolutely. And it's a continuous experience of surrender to creation, and also recognizing that you're a creator within creation. And with that said, there's still this major flow that is, that's like the current essence, if you will, that we get to tap into. And when we tap into it more and more by opening up and allowing ourselves to be these beautiful energetic conduits, we begin to see where we thrive and where we need a little bit more support. It's such a really beautiful process to say, wow, I love this and this and this and this, and I know that I can do all of them, but how do I want to go about this? How do I put my action forward and allow it to flourish in the way that I would like to be present in this experience? Does that?
Yes, that's really nice, because I think whenever we start a new part of our journey, we maybe stumble a little bit, or we try different things. We try something and maybe it doesn't always work. And then we have to try something else. And I like to say, I just was listening to David Wilcock the other night, and he's amazing. And he's coming out with another new book. And he was saying how there really is only one of us, and there is source energy flowing, and each one of us is like a little focal point, or we're like the camera lens or the movie projector lens for a certain set of qualities and ideas and skills and desires and interests and information, and we get to shape a life a certain way because of that. And I think we're kind of going full circle where, you know, we've been living in this sort of materialistic modern culture, and we went out and we, you know, for many years, people have gone out and, you know, first they were raising families, and we went through a couple world wars, and then people are like working really hard in order to get a big house or get a bigger house and get a car, a couple of cars to a family, and, you know, get all this stuff done. And now we're kind of coming back around to, wow, who do I really want to be in the middle of all of this? And maybe even reduce some of these possessions so they don't own my life. And then how do I find other people who I can share this journey with, and the interests that I have of the truth of who I really am?
Yeah. And that is a huge one, relationship. When we're in relationship in the present moment with who we're relating to. And it's really interesting how we can shape our experience here on Earth in a way where we're open to a new option, and coming into that awareness with an open heart. Like, being a multidimensional person to me means walking into a situation with an open heart and seeing what the gift is there, and that's there in front of you, and then allowing yourself to be so self-honest that you can see where your emotional body is not in alignment with how you would like to experience. And something that came up for me recently is, it's not even recent, actually. I think it's been happening my whole life, and I'm coming into a deeper awareness of what love is and what that can look like for men and women, for women and women, for men and men, for a group of people, and what connection can look like and what intimacy can look like, and how that brings up fears, because we have this possessiveness that has been built around marriage and things like that, which I am totally for marriage. If that's what you want to do, that's like so beautiful. I know people that have had and have incredible partnerships, and that is fully what they're showing up for in their life because they want to, and they see its benefit for them in their experience. And how then do we navigate when we are in relationship with people that are, say, unavailable? Like, for instance, for me, I'm going to speak from personal experience. There are two men in my life that I love dearly, and actually probably more than that, to be honest. And I have an extreme connection to them. And one of them is in a relationship. And the things that come up for me within this is so powerful. It's allowing me to open up more and love from a place of not needing it to look a certain way for me to appreciate this human being in my life.
Very cool.
Huge. I mean, huge process. So, you know, and that is a part of, this is not something, you know, my emotional body still has fear attached to this experience. And it's beautiful because I'm able to see it, and, you know, things come up and I check myself and then I allow for presence to overtake me and allow me to be fully open in a space of love with human beings. And it's not easy. And that's a big part of this human experience, is that it's not. And that is what is, that's a part of that, like, sensational experience of the human experience, is tapping into your senses and feeling the aliveness in all of them, but then having the responsibility to take on what is yours and do the work to make change by little steps every day to help implement what you would, how you would like to experience.
Delia, I think some of what you're delving into here that's really cool is, I mean, first of all, there has to be self-love. And we're in this journey to kind of wake up to who we are, to love ourselves, and to be participating in life where we have the connections and the mirroring that we can be really connected to self. And because we're going to get our greatest joy from that. And then when we connect with another person, I think some of what you're talking about is this experience of being really openly loving and caring about a connection with another. And it may not look like an old form, but the idea is to just love for the sake of love. If we're activated and we have certain, chemistries and activations with someone, to be fully who we are, to allow them to be fully who they are, but then to enter into that loving space, into that space of being love. And I think that really opens up something deep inside of us. And I think that's a really big exploratory journey that a lot of us are in right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I one of the other things that I feel like plays so hugely into it is sexuality too. And which I have my own traumas around that, now as I dive deeper into them and I'm asking more questions about why certain rules were made when I was a kid and this, that, and the other thing, I'm starting to see how much of that was a cultural thing, and also how much of that I took on as my own because of fear also. So, excuse me. But ultimately it all comes back to self-love. Like one of the other things that's coming up around this is feeling, okay, I'm a 33-year-old woman who has a sexual appetite and also recognizes that I don't want to be sharing my body and that magical power with just anybody. So, and if I am around people that I'm sexually attracted to, but that is not an option as far as relationship and relating, then, what comes up with that? There's so many things that come up. And at the end of the day, I need to be with myself and love myself more and give myself what I need to give. And this may be like a weird, uncomfortable conversation, but like we all have the power to give ourselves orgasm through breathing, through touch. It's a real thing. So and I know that I'm not alone. I know people that struggle with this because it is a real thing. You want to feel that connection and that love with people, but then you also know the power of what it is that you're experiencing and how magical it is when you move into that space with someone intentionally. And it's eye to eye, not just, and it's not even a judgment because I have done things where I've had one night stands and things like that. But that all of it is learning experience, and we're all humans, and maybe some people have not had those experiences. Maybe they didn't need to have those experiences in this life, but that's the thing that's one of the biggest things about radical self-honesty and self-love is really seeing where you're at, where you really are at in your action, and then where you want to be at, and that is like your value system. And then how do you navigate that with the emotional body and cultural influences and things like that. So this human experience is just dynamic just by these things that we all are going through. And that's what I think is really important right now. This conversation is bringing the feminine back, is bringing this connection of radical self-honesty, like being totally honest with your girls and with your man friends and everybody. Because then it also shows us that we are all connected and that we all are dealing with the same, very similar stories. And that's another way of bringing and feeling more compassion and love in your daily life. And there's so many other things that affects as well.
That's really well said, Delia. It's beautiful. And I really appreciate you taking the conversation this direction. I know that it's a conversation I end up having with a lot of my goddess sisters. Many of us are in these kind of open conversations right now. Like, how do you relate to relationships in a new way? How do you relate to, being truly yourself and really connecting with the different people that you're experiencing in your lives? And I think also we as Americans, North Americans, and probably Europeans, Australians, the people that are in a little bit more open culture, so to speak, we are getting to have conversations that might not happen in other countries in the world. So in a way, we're sort of on a leading edge of exploring this kind of freedom, this kind of reset, of rebuilding. How do we relate to each other with honesty, with truth, and I think people who come from other cultures, some cultures in the world, such a conversation might take place quietly, among friends, or might not take place at all for some people. So, and I think because of the travel that I've done, and I know you've done a little bit of world travel, which a lot of Americans don't end up doing, but I think getting out of our own country and getting around different cultures, it's helped me. And because I work on some global teams, in different Skype rooms and different kinds of things, and I'm getting to know people from around the world, I realize there's huge differences in human culture in different countries, different religions. And so to be in a country and a lifestyle and around friends where we can be the explorers of this is really a wonderful thing. I'm personally very grateful for it. I mean, I'm of Middle Eastern heritage, and some of my memories when I've been clearing, I had a memory come up when I was doing a lot of deep clearing of being stoned to death, and wow. We're talking ancient stuff that's stored in the unconscious from our generations. But I just end up having this really innate sense of gratitude today that I live in a culture and I'm in a mind, body, and spirit where I can listen to my own heart. I can search for my own joy. I can get to know how it is that I'm choosing to connect with the different people that are in my life, and kind of up the level of honesty that is connected with that. And I think that ends up sort of being a circle. Like the more, and I know I've had this conversation a lot with people, so it's really a pretty big deal. I think a lot of us are in this learning process. Like, first of all, you have to be honest with yourself. And then it goes out from there. Well, if I'm being honest with myself and you're in my life and I'm not being honest with you, then there's something missing. And what I always say to myself, and when I was writing 21st Century Superhuman and I kind of live this path and this work that I do, one of the things that I've said is, if I don't speak the truth that's inside of me, it will never be spoken. Because I am this one focal point of source energy, of creation, and so if I speak my truth, if I connect in the way I connect, if I do the best, I learn, I grow, I cooperate with others, and, nurture what relationships are there, something new is going to be born in the world just out of that, because I am following that path.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so awesome that you say that, because that reminds me of my experience now with my mom, actually. We didn't have like the greatest relationship growing up. I mean, it, there were tensions and things that I held um, over her and for her, if you will, unfortunately, that took away from actually having a true, open, honest, loving relationship. And and now things have changed so much, because I realized that during my spirit quest, if you will, my journey, the last couple years, I was living in Mexico for a while. I was in Peru and New York, and up and down California, and a little bit in Arizona, kind of all over the place. And I've always had the travel bug, always. But this time was a little bit different. I was like searching for something, and I knew that it was in me, but I wasn't sure exactly what that something was. And but at the same time, I was also searching outside of me. And when I came back to LA, when I made the choice to come back to Los Angeles, where I grew up and where I'm from, I had this epiphany that what am I trying to get out there? Like, I have all these beautiful people. Everywhere that I go, I meet more beautiful tribe. But the one that I'm like rooted in, because I was born here, and have relationships with people that I've known since I was 4 years old. Me being here and bringing what I have to offer and what I hold is exactly what this particular tribe here needs. I'm like a part of that puzzle. Like I came to this realization that yes, traveling is great, and being a nomad in certain aspects of your lifestyle and of your spirit is beautiful, because it allows you to see more options. Like you said, traveling is really great because it gives you more options, and then you can see how people live differently, and then you can actually make a choice to live differently that may be different from the tribe that you grew up in. And in some ways, the tribe that I grew up in is different than me, and yet in other aspects, they're not at all. And being grateful for what I have, and seeing where I can show up more in these particular experiences that are so deep rooted, allow me to then show up more for the collective.
Nice. That's really cool. I think there's a lot of that going on right now. I'm one of the reasons I am where I am right now is so I can be near my mom and interact with her, and, deepen connection and healing, and, be really clear that the energy is good between us. And, and I have people that I've known for years and years and years, and I share community households with some of them, and that, it's a really enriching experience to have those long-time relationships. So yeah, I like the balance between the two. And I think knowing, I remember you and I talked about that when we were in Mexico. Do you remember? You were kind of wanting to go back and be part of the tribe back in that area where you grew up, and you had, because you're in a kind of progressive place, you have a nice community around you, and you were homeschooled, right? We talked about this in another show that we did together.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain element of an atmosphere that supports you in being who you are, and being creative, and being joyful.
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
really nice.
Yeah. And it also allows me the opportunity to travel as well. So
right.
I'm really grateful for that.
Because you're not like trying to set up your own household or whatever you're sharing. And I think that's really good. Are you still there? Here you
Yeah,
are.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying that pretty much all of the things that I'm involved in have some sort of traveling related to them. And even if that's like visiting other towns that are somewhat nearby, it's still an enriching experience to like feel your wings, you know?
Well, I think part of that too is this element of getting to know ourselves, who we are, getting connected to self, instead of being in an environment and saying, oh, I don't like it here, I don't like what's around me, or I want to change what's around me, instead of saying, I like who I am, how can I express more of who I am? And then we can do that anywhere. It isn't like, we have to have a certain place to do it or a certain group of people to be around. And that's I think that just tells how that there's a really great settling that's gone on inside of you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And it's felt really good.
We're freezing up a little bit. Are you still there? Hello, hello. Hello. Delia. Is still recording. Hi. We just froze up for a minute. I can clip that section out, so no worries. I have a really easy way to do it in YouTube. So let's just continue. But why don't we look at, so if you had a suggestion for people that are really wanting to access more of who they are and begin expressing it and living it, what would you suggest? I mean, we've each been on this journey. I have my path that I've been on. You have yours.
The one thing that I would say first would be to write down a list of the things that you really enjoy to do. Like, what do you really enjoy doing that is giving back to your being? And I feel like that's like the basis of self-love. And then seeing that list and being like, okay, how can I implement some of these things in my daily routine where I feel like I'm giving myself something that I really enjoy, that isn't necessarily like, like meditation, even if it's breathing, 10 deep inhales and exhales first.
I know you said, we talked about creating a list of things you really like to do, and then you started talking about even if it's meditation and taking 10 breaths, or how would a person really begin to unravel these aspects of self and begin expressing them in their work or their play or their life?
Well, doing it, actually making the commitment and doing it, saying, what would somebody that loved themselves do? Okay, they would, if they had anxiety and they knew that 10 breaths in the morning really helped them get through that day in a more graceful, peaceful way, do it. And if you don't do it, give yourself a hug and know that every day is a new day. And that can be an excuse.
That's so sweet. But that's so sweet. I was going to say, you have to have some self-discipline, but you're like, give yourself a hug. Yeah. I mean, it does take commitment, though. I mean, I think at some point we have to say, I'm going to commit to myself. I'm going to commit to living my joy. And I think we stumble a lot in the beginning. We do it, we don't do it. We kind of get tuned in, and then we fall into just doing what everybody else is doing. But, I think it does take some real, I'm going to just use the words commitment and discipline, to remember. And I think making a list is a really great way, because if we make a list of the things we want to be including in our lives, that we desire to be doing in order to fully express ourselves, then we have that to go back to. I like buy freezer paper at the grocery store, and I get big magic markers and I make big mind maps and I put them on my wall. Like, I'm going to be doing this and this and this. And all of those mind maps come true. It's really cool. It's a very fun thing to do, but you can make smaller lists. They don't all have to
I'm a big list girl. Like,
nice.
I have lists upon lists, and it's cool because I can look back and I like have done all of that stuff. Even if I didn't go to the list to remember to do it, just writing it down and then being like, okay, this is all going to happen the way that it needs to happen. And I don't have control of how that's going to look.
Yes. I think that's really a big key too, is starting to trust the sort of divine unfolding, I call it, but you can call it anything, the magic of life. I mean, if we begin committing ourselves to our heart, our soul, our joy, things will happen in amazing ways. And as you've said a couple of times, they don't necessarily come about. We don't like design how that's going to happen. We just trust the universe and things start coming into being because we've opened up the space inside ourselves for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking of one other thing. I feel like drinking more water. It's like a simple thing.
Very simple.
But it's huge. It's huge. It's like, these things that are really like they seem little, but ultimately, like, your body is a temple, and the reason why they call it a temple is because this is where you get to express yourself, what you get to express yourself through.
Beautiful.
So if you're having a hard time doing that, then your temple is clogged in one way or another, which we all deal with daily. I'm moving energy,
So drinking more water, eating simple food, eating healthier food. And it isn't like it's rocket science anymore. There's enough information out in our culture. I mean, eat more fruit and vegetables, eat a few simple whole grains, eat some simple proteins, eat less, drink more water. And drinking more water has almost become like a societal meme, but how many people really do it? And
right.
I mean, I have here like a glass quart jar. I'm like sort of famous for carrying these around. People laugh at me. And down here especially, it's hot, and I fill it up with water and I put ice in there, and I'm like chugging these things all day long.
Yeah.
And sometimes I put a wedge of lemon in there, or you can put a piece of apple, or my friend just put passion fruit and lemon in hers today. And I mean, you can make it really fun. And the one thing to be careful of is to be avoiding water that has fluoride in it, because that's going to shut down aspects of the brain. And
right.
I'm actually living in a town in Florida right now where the town got the fluoride out of the water.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
I know. And so we have a filter on the kitchen faucet, and we can run water out of that. I think there's a little chlorine, but it gets taken out by that filter. So so I don't have to keep going out and buying bottled water, which is really nice. If you can set up a way to get good water and not have to buy bottled water all the time.
Yeah. And there are sources for that. I mean, I have friends that actually go and harvest spring water themselves.
Wonderful. I've done that a lot of years.
So beautiful.
It's really fun. And then you're getting the water structured right out of the earth.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And really, like, when it comes to wholeness, it really, like, you really have to look at the whole circle.
Yes.
It's like mentally you have, like, your brain is a tool. It is not the guiding force. So what do? You do meditation to help yourself allow things to come and go, and for you to not allow the emotional body to take over your experience when something comes up that's intense, or and that's a huge part of it. And then the drinking water and eating well and having good community around you. Like, community is huge. Like, we're not here alone.
That's right. Yep.
It's like, and the family unit is that's the learning, the first learning experience of community. And then being able to bring that outside is huge. And it's really, fulfilling.
Delia, that's beautiful and well said. The reason I don't do these shows all alone is because other people have such great ways of saying things, and I can't do it all myself. So I love having tribe and community whose beautiful voices help bring this forward in many ways. And I just want to thank you so much for speaking so openly about things that are close to your heart and your own growth. And, and we are this multidimensional being. We are a sexual being. We're a physical being. We're an emotional being. We are a creative being. And all those aspects are part of us. And, some of our old ways maybe tend to put us in little boxes and say, well, if you're this way, then it's going to be
and you're okay.
Yeah, or you succeed or whatever. So we're accessing new kinds of success that I think have to do with the creativity of who we are, what our own unique expression is, what our own unique interests are, what our own unique passions are, and then joining with other people who have those and making real human connections based in truth and honesty and caring. And then, as we talk about in a lot of the other 21st century superhuman stuff, there is no out there. And when we don't like things around us, we have to come inside and make those changes. So,
yeah. So yes, yeah, and really the biggest contribution is love. Like your biggest contribution is learning to love on all different levels, and that will allow you to come into your own, because if you're loving yourself and you're loving everybody else around you, because that's what you're transmitting.
That's exactly right. Right on, little sister.
Meow.
I just love you so much. We're just such a beautiful, wonderful, fun tribal connection to have. And I'm so glad that we all got to know each other, and we have this ongoing dialogue now about what we're growing through and what we're learning about in our lives. And it's really wonderful. So,
yeah. Thank you. I want to say thank you to you, and thank you to all my Star Family tribe that I get to see when I see, and know that we're all doing, living our purpose and doing our best. And it's like I get sad at times when I think about wanting to see everybody and be around them, but then I realize that it's all love.
It's all love, and right about where we are. And here's another thing I just want to toss out there. I was talking to a friend about this today. We were walking on the beach and having this conversation, and I said, I'm this person who's way out on the edge, and I'm always involved in change, and I have been my whole life. And, I'm on the cutting edge of, accessing change for myself and bringing it forward for others. But, I have a brother and his wife, and they're a conventional family with kids and grandkids, and they live in a nice neighborhood, and they are very stable, and they're kind of progressive in their area. And, it takes all of us. Like, everybody doesn't have to be off the edge, we need people in all different places in society, all different levels of growth, and it creates kind of a stable culture. And I think this conversation could be for anyone. How do you, wherever you are in your world, in your arena, even if it's more traditional, how do you incorporate more things that are meaningful to you? How do you incorporate more of the truth of who you are, the creativity of who you are, the joy of who you are into everything that you do on a daily basis?
Yeah. And I would say that one of the keys to that also is playing the game of intuition. Like, how can I hear my intuition better? And that is direct conversation with infinite intelligence. So drawing that into no matter what experience you're in and whatever experience you enjoy, that alone will just allow you to show up more in your personal joy.
We're just going to say wise elder in a young woman's body. Keep that voice coming. You are so welcome. Are you still blogging?
Yeah, I am. I was working on a retreat the last couple months, so I didn't blog as much as I would like to, but it's all blessed, and I'm still doing that, and it's delightfullyalive.com.
Great. And we'll put that link under the video and under the blog post. And also, if anybody wanted to contact you for a little coaching, you're doing some of that, right?
Yes, I'm a wellness mentor, and so however that shows up is how I show up. And if you need to contact me, we can do Skype calls or phone calls, or depending on where you're at, in person. And there's a lot of different options within that, and they can call me.
Great.
So
we'll put some contact information under the video, and
cool.
And we'll do another one of these sometime. Okay.
Yes, please. I would love that.
It's really fun. Delia, thank you so much. And to everyone out in listener land, be a 21st Century Superhuman. Check out our website, 21stcenturysuperhuman.com. Love yourself, love your life, love your journey. Breathe and smile. Be the joy that you are. Much love.
Amen.
Many blessings. Adios.
Adios, muchachos.